Hello and welcome back to my channel. I just kind of wanted to do a little video about a project I'm going to start. I'm going to do a vintage Barbie restoration project. I've never restored vintage Barbie. The oldest Barbies I've worked with are from the 80s. So these Barbies are going to be, older than I'm used to. But I'm going to attempt to clean them up because they're dirty, and then I want to I'm not sure what kind of hair they used back in the 60s and 70s, but I'm going to figure it out, how to wash it and kind of style it up, make it look a little bit better. I'm not, and I made a previous video when I found these dolls, and a lot of people let me know that some of them are body swapped and that kind of stuff, and that's fine. I appreciate everyone, letting me know, because I don't know much about super vintage Barbies, but my goal is not to, restore them back to what they were originally. I don't mind that they're body swapped. That doesn't really bother me. I really like dolls, and I consider every doll as a piece of art, because every doll starts out as an artist's concept. Somebody came up with the idea and the concept, and they designed it, and then they executed it. Maybe more than one person was involved in it, but it's somebody's vision. And so I don't like to see the dolls sitting around dirty and naked, just laying there, because, they at one point were somebody's pride and joy that they designed. So I just want to, kind of fix them up and make them look a little bit better. So these are the 4 that I'm going to try to fix up. None of them have like any bald spots on their head, which is good, because I don't know how to reroot dolls. And so that's definitely not something I'm going to be doing. I have no idea how to reroot doll hair. So thankfully they all have full heads of hair. I just have to figure out how to wash it and style it. Also, in the comments of my last video, I was showing a midge body that I had, but it didn't have a head. The copyright said midge, and I don't know if it said like 61 or something. Maybe 63, I don't remember. But it didn't have a head. So this skipper had a Barbie head on it. So someone suggested that I take the Barbie head and put it on the midge body, which I think is a good idea. So here's the midge body right here that I had. If you want to see the copyright, it's right there. And obviously you can see it's dirty and needs to be cleaned up. But then this is the skipper body, and this is the head. So I'm going to figure out, and I've never done this with a vintage doll before, how to remove this head and put it on this midge body, and then I'm going to also be, fixing this one up. So what I've decided is I really want to make it like authentic vintage. So I'm not going to just fix them up in their hair. I'm also going to make them some clothes. So I am a pattern hoarder. I love collecting vintage patterns, and when you collect vintage patterns, you run across a lot of doll patterns. So I have a bunch of vintage Barbie patterns. None of them are reproductions. These are all authentic vintage patterns. So I'm going to show them to you, and I'm going to choose an outfit to make for each one of the dolls. So I'm going to show you the patterns, and I'm going to number them. And if anyone has any suggestions of a particular, outfit that they want to see, just let me know, pattern 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever, and I can make that outfit for the doll if it's, something that several people, suggested. I thought that would be kind of fun if anybody wants to see a specific one. So this is the first pattern here. I really like the red jumper. I think that's cute. But that's going to be the first one. I like that black dress too. So I got that pattern. And we have this one. Now this one, I love that blue dress. And if I had time, I would also make the matching blue coat. Obviously, I don't want to make any house coats or any sleepwear or any of that kind of stuff, but I do like the dresses and the jackets. That's that pattern. That's number 2. This is the number 3 pattern. I like that yellow dress. That's very pretty. Here, let me get my finger out of the way. And then I like the red outfit down there in the corner. And there are some Ken doll options. And I do have a Ken doll, and we'll discuss that in a minute. What I realized about the Ken doll as soon as I'm done showing the patterns. That's number 3. Here's number 4. I like the one in the top corner, you know, up right here. And I like this dress down here in the yellow square at the bottom too. So I have that one. That's number 4. Here's number 5. I like the yellow shirt and the plaid skirt. So this is number 5 here. I'll show that one in a minute. Here's number 6. So I like the plaid outfit. I like this red dress too. Well, the red dress with the red jacket, which might be that red dress right there. So here we have that one. Here's number 7. Oh, love the pink coat. It's so cute. Number 7. I like that pant outfit too. The pantsuit is adorable. I don't really want, just like I don't want to make any nightwear or house coats, I don't want to make any bathing suits either. I'm not interested in dressing my dolls in bathing suits. Here's number 8. We got a ballerina. We got some service men and women, I guess, over here. I do like the black coat. So we have this outfit somewhere. That one. Let's see. It's 8. Here's number 9. I don't really want to make any wedding dresses either. But if somebody really wants me to, I will. I love that black dress. Reminds me of Solo in the Spotlight. So there's number 9. Here's number 10. This is one of my favorites. I love these two at the top. The cheerleader and then the brown. I wouldn't make the vest, but I like the shirt and the skirt. And then I love this one down here with the plaid. So that's cute. That's number 10. And then here's number 11. We have the pink outfit is really cute. And I like this white dress with the sunflowers, or maybe just sunflowers, yeah. And there's a square dance outfit, so there's that one. So that's number 11. So those are some of my vintage doll patterns. So I'm going to be choosing outfits from there. So if anyone has any suggestions for those 4, well, it's going to be 5 when I do the midge one. So we're looking for 5 outfits. Now, I do have this Ken doll, which I was interested in restoring, but here's the problem I realized with the Ken doll. This is not an original Ken doll, like, you know, from the early 60s. And this is what, I do have a Ken pattern, and as you notice, there were some Ken outfits in the other patterns, but here's a full Ken pattern. But look at this Ken doll. He's like, I don't want to say scrawny, but he's not buff. You know, the original Ken that they made for Barbie's boyfriend, he was much thinner, like not as muscular. So this is kind of a newer Ken, like, you know, he's marked from the late 60s, early 70s, and he is a lot buffer than these Ken patterns. So I don't honestly know if these patterns are going to fit this particular Ken. I am gonna have to I'm gonna cut the pattern out, one of them, and kind of try it and see if it's gonna fit his chest and arms, because I'm not sure if it will or not. But it's number 12. So here's number 12 if you have any particular suggestion that you want to see. And I will try and see if I can get one of these to fit him, or one of the other ones that I saw on some of the other patterns, and see if it's gonna work. I don't know. So I'm going to do as authentic as I can. So obviously, if I'm gonna use a vintage pattern, I'm gonna also use vintage fabric. So I'm gonna use only fabric that I have that's like I have a lot of feed sack fabric from 30s, 40s, 50s. I have some polyester. I have just some basic vintage fabric. So I'll kind of show you what I have. Here's several different ones. I have, and these are just samples. I have larger cuts at home. So I have this vintage fabric. I have this particular like patchwork looking one. This is one of my favorites here. This is a plaid. It's a pink and blue plaid. Isn't that pretty? And this is a one with coffee cups and mugs, teapots. So I don't know about that one, but here's some from the 60s, a little tile pattern. This one, and here's a flower pattern. Excuse me. And then I also have this pink check pattern here. There's a flower pattern. This pattern is a bigger one design, so I don't know if that'll work, but it's pretty. It's got lots of nice colors in it. Here's another one. And this is one of my favorites here that I have. Very kind of 70-ish, late 60s. Here's a flower pattern that I have. And I have that same pattern again, but in a white background instead of green. Here's one that I have that's an orangish yellow with some different flowers. And here's one from the 60s that I have that's very bright green with pink and white daisies. Let's see, I also have, this is all feed sack fabrics here. Let me see if I can show you a sample. Now they're all cut into quilt squares, but we can still use them to do, you know, smaller things like shirts. But these are all mostly feed sack fabrics. If you see anything in there, you know, some smaller. This is a very vintage one here. It's so cute with the cats on it. Some pretty ones in there. So I have lots of these little patterns here. And then I have some pink and white polyester fabric here that I can use. And this is a quilt top that someone had made with some 60s fabric, but they never finished it. So they never quilted this. So there's several different patterns on here, and I can just take them apart, use a seam ripper and kind of rip this out. Here's one of my favorites there. Some strawberries, and here's some hats. So I can use that fabric off that quilt top. So those are some vintage fabrics that I'm going to be using. And also on the outfits, I would like to use any type of trims that I might need. So I have some vintage trims. I have this trim and I have this trim. In case, I have some other trims at home. I didn't bring them all, like I said, but just enough to show some samples. What else did I bring? Oh, if I need to use any rickrack, I thought it might be fun to use some little mini rickrack. I've got lots of vintage rickrack. So here's some vintage white rickrack and little blue. Here's some pink. You know, this is back when you could buy it for 25 cents. I think it's like $3.99 now at Walmart. Here's some black, vintage black rickrack. Let's see, I have, if I need bias tape, I have vintage bias tape. I have some vintage, you know, the stretch lace, kind of like the seam binding or hem tape lace here. And here, I have lots of colors of this, so I got more of that. If I need any seam binding, I've got several colors of vintage seam binding. Vintage piping, if I decide I want to put piping, I have lots of colors of that. I got some iron-on hem tape. So any of that stuff I need, it's all going to be done in vintage. I also have some vintage lace. Here's some pretty vintage lace. Here's some. I got some on rolled up onto here. Let's see. Oh, I found this. This is one of those bonnets that you would wear. You would put the curlers in your hair, and then if you were going to go to the grocery store or something, you would put this bonnet over your head to help, you know, hold your curlers on. And I thought that this netting was really pretty. It's got, you know, polka dots on it. So I thought maybe I could kind of cut pieces off and use it to maybe line the front of a skirt or a dress. That would be cute. Because, you know, I don't really have any use for this because I don't wear curlers in my hair. So I don't have use for that bonnet. So I thought that would be fun. Here's some vintage eyelet lace with a pink at the bottom. And also, I'm going to do vintage closures. Obviously, we know that they did not use Velcro on their vintage outfits for the vintage Barbies. So mostly they had zippers or snaps or buttons. So I do have some vintage snaps here. Here's some old snaps. And then I have some more vintage snaps here. Also, if I need, I was thinking I might use hook and eyes. So I have some really vintage hook and eyes here, if I need to use those for any closures. And then I have this pack. This is a pack that you used to be able to buy. It's called Barbie and Midge. And down here it says, for Barbie dressmakers, if you can see that right there. It has been opened and some of the stuff has been used, but it comes with super tiny buttons and some beads, some feathers, some more of the little bitty buttons, and some tiny little zippers. So I have, if I want to use button closures or zipper closures, I have these right here. And I was thinking I could also use the buttons as decoration on the front of the outfits instead of using them for closures. So I haven't decided, but I have all vintage items to use for closures. The only issue that I can see running into are the shoes. I had heard that vintage Barbie feet are a little bit bigger and they don't fit, you know, more modern Barbie shoes. And the oldest vintage shoes I have are from the 80s, and they don't fit my Barbies, these Barbies here. I have tried, and the foot will not go all the way in. These feet are bigger. So I am going to have to try to find somewhere some vintage Barbie shoes, because I do want to make them have complete outfits. So that's something I am going to have to try to look for on eBay, is some, you know, vintage shoes. This Barbie here at the end, she does fit those red tennis shoes, but these other ones, they do not fit any of the Barbie shoes. So that's going to be an issue. That's the only issue that I can really foresee, though. So I just wanted to give you a really quick look at the project I was going to do. And if you have any suggestions on which particular outfit you might want to see, just let me know which pattern it comes from, and then just say, you know, the black and white plaid skirt on pattern number, you know, 4 or 5 or whatever. And, you know, I'll choose that one. It doesn't matter. I don't mind. I like all the outfits. So, or if there's a certain fabric that you want to see me use. So it's gonna take me a while because I don't work fast, but I will be periodically posting some updates on how the project's going, and I am gonna film certain parts. I'm not gonna film myself sitting there sewing, but I will film and show the outfits I chose and show the pieces cut out and the fabrics, and, you know, show the process and that kind of stuff. And in between, I'll be doing other videos too, but okay, this is just a little update. So let me know in the comments what you think and what you suggest you might want to see. And then we'll get working on that. So thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.